I have a GE GFss6kkxass. Icemaker not working. Replaced icemaker, still no ice. When unit is unplugged, comes back up with 2 bars on the 88 display blinking. What does the GE manual say this means?
Hello, and thank you for using this service. I'll be helping you with your problem today. One of the dashes on the 8888 should be blinking, which is actually the error code you're getting. Can you tell me what segment is blinking?
Trying to return it to that state now. How long do I have to leave it unplugged to get that to happen?
You don't leave it unplugged. You leave it plugged in, and eventually it will appear when the error is detected.
I unplugged the fridge when I replaced the ice maker. When I plugged it back in, I got the 88 on the display. The display on the front of the unit returned to normal after I pressed and held energy saver and an alarm/light. I think one of the blinking segments was the lower left vertical on the rightmost 8. But it has run for hours without returning to the alarm display.
Okay, so it may be working again, but you need to give the icemaker 24 hours to cool down. By pressing and holding those 2 buttons, you cleared the error. But if you replaced the icemaker or unplugged something while the refrigerator was plugged in, then that is why you were getting an error code. With the error reset, all you can do is just wait and see if the unit cycle. It doesn't think there is an error if it's not showing 88 on the display, so with a new icemaker it should work. On the chance that the icemaker won't cycle and work on its own, probably the best thing to do is determine if the icemaker isn't cycling and calling for water, or if water isn't actually making it to the refrigerator. First, make sure the freezer is below 10 degrees because the icemaker will not cycle if the temperature in the freezer is over 10 degrees. Next, fill up the icemaker with a cup of water and wait 24 hours to see if it cycles and dumps the ice. If it doesn't cycle, replace the icemaker because it's just bad. If it cycles but doesn't fill up with water, check the fill tube behind the icemaker, and if it's frozen solid, use a hairdryer and thaw it out. You can also make sure it's not frozen by disconnect the water line coming from the icemaker and going to the valve at the valve. Blow through the water line to make sure it's clear. If it's not frozen, you'll need to replace the electronic water valve on the back of the refrigerator where your water supply line from your house connects to your refrigerator itself.
I replaced the icemaker 2 days ago. The freezer temp is -2 degrees. Question 1. Shouldn't the unit cycle when I press the test button? If it does not, does that indicate a bad icemaker? Meaning, the replacement unit I bought is just as defective as the one it replaced. Question 2. If the door unit successfully serves drinking water, does that mean the icemaker should be getting water, too, or are they separate?
1. Yes, that is all correct. 2. No, this does not mean the icemaker is getting water because the water valve has 2 solenoids on it and they fail independently, one for the water dispenser and one for the icemaker.
It's beginning to sound like the replacement icemaker is defective. Is there a board or any other component that drives the icemaker? Anything else that could be preventing it from getting power in order to cycle?
The main control board on the back can cut power to the icemaker, but I've honestly never seen that happen. That would be the only thing that could cut power to the icemaker.
Okay, one more question, then. If the icemaker unit is defective and will not cycle, why would that prevent it from filling with water?
Yes, because if the ice maker doesn't cycle, it'll never call for water.
Okay, sounds like I need to return the replacement ice maker and ask for another one. Maybe that will do the trick. But if the third ice maker doesn't cycle when the test button is pushed, what's the next step? Is there any way to diagnose the board?
There is no way to diagnose the board. The next step would be to replace the entire main control board if for some reason the new ice maker doesn't fix the issue.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit justanswer.com/ythi.